Hi, I'm Brickroad. Welcome to Let's Play Metroid Zero Mission. This game was requested by my good pal Tier McDole during the Talking Time fundraiser, and it happens to be one of the few actually good Metroid games, so I'm delighted to share it with all of you. As you may have noticed, this LP comes at you with scripted commentary. Much like its older, smarter, sexier sister, Super Metroid, Zero Mission is a pretty demanding game, and I'm the kind of guy who can't walk and chew gum at the same time. It's also jam-packed with cool gameplay tricks, sequence breaks, and fun train spotting stuff, and I wanted to make sure to squeeze in as much info per second as possible. I will be playing on normal difficulty. There is a hard difficulty that unlocks after you beat the game, but it's actually more like make the game not fun difficulty. I'm shooting for my personal favorite of the game's 8 endings, which means finishing on normal in under 2 hours with 100% item collection. Where ZM really excels compared to other Metroid games is its method of storytelling. ZM does more with these brief, mostly wordless cutscenes than Prime does with its ubiquitous scans, or Fusion with its endless monologuing, or Other M with we do not speak of Other M. See, ZM is a reimagining of the original NES Metroid, and one of the true joys of that early era of gaming is that games typically didn't have more story than was required to prop up their gameplay. ZM's story is told with comic panel style reaction shots and cutaways that inject just enough emotion and agency into the gameplay to remind you why you're here on Planet Zebes, shooting bugs and curling up with Chozo statues. I don't want to get too bogged down talking about ZM's plot, mostly because I don't want to digress into a frothing rant about fusions, but the game manages to strike a happy medium between telling its story and respecting the player's time. You guys know by now that I like to skip the cutscenes in games that I replay. Well, ZM has the kind of cutscenes I wouldn't skip, even if I could, because they're short, fun, and most importantly, infrequent. You get like one cutscene for every 20 or 30 minutes of gameplay. Shantae and Mega Man X could learn something here. So about that gameplay then, I sort of really hate how Samus controls in this game. Her acceleration is awful, aiming is a pain in the neck, wall jumping feels really finicky, and jumping horizontally cuts her speed in half, so you constantly miss jumps it looks like you should make. I'll elaborate on all that a little bit more as it becomes relevant, but in short, ZM's physics would have taken a lot of getting used to, even if I wasn't coming in off of a decade of Super. On the plus side, there are lots of cool sequence breaks, such as this cute little number where you can clear the shootable blocks by firing into the tunnel and then quickly rolling in after your bullet. Normally you have to take the top path, kill some enemies, sit through another waypoint sequence, but nerds to all that, I got places to be. Some sequence breaks are baked right into the game, such as shooting through the roof of that tunnel to access the blue door. You're supposed to come in from the side, something which isn't possible without the long beam, because Samus's shots don't reach far enough. But the developers wanted a way for you to skip the long beam, so they put in the roof blocks as a back door. There are lots of these backdoor skips in ZM, and they allow you to explore most of the world in whatever order you want. Not all of these skips are meant to save time, though. As you can imagine, skipping the long beam just makes the rest of the game more frustrating, so it's something I'd grab even if I wasn't shooting for 100%. But since I am aiming for 100%, when I zoom, boss fights! Okay, yes, hell yes, this is a cool sequence, and a great example of ZM's story respecting the player's time. No cutscene, no drawn-out scripted sequence where Samus ruminates on the spiky rockworms that infest Brinstar, just a startling eyeball attack, prefaced with some rumbling and some falling debris. The rockworm isn't hard, but unless you know exactly how to kill it, you aren't likely to do so on your first try. Instead, you'll kind of scare it off and then encounter it later in another area of Brinstar. So right here at the outset, the game is establishing Zebes as a hostile world where anything can happen, and it does so without slow scrolling text or drawn-out animated sequences. That's good stuff. Anyway, as I was saying, I am aiming for 100%, so I need a good plan of attack. Like all Metroid games, ZM's world is divided into large sections separated by elevators. Unlike most Metroid games, these sections can largely be mined of their useful pickups without having to leave and come back. These flea hives, by the way, are the main reason skipping the long beam is such a gargantuan pain in the ass. Without it, Samus's gun can't reach across this little pit, and so she has to use missiles, and of course she only has a few missiles at this point in the game, and do not want. But yeah, this first video consists mainly of clearing out all the goodies from Brinstar, the rocky, acidy area nearest to the planet's surface.
As you can see, the first few pickups are just kind of out in the open as the game helpfully guides you along in exploring the opening areas. The few hidden missile packs in these areas, like the one in the corner of the hive room or the one embedded in the blue pillar, are just far enough outside your periphery that you learn to be on the lookout for such tricks. Hey look, here's a wall jump that I would have made if wall jumping in this game didn't suck. Grumble, grumble. I was talking about exploration. Each Chozo statue you find triggers a waypoint on your map, showing you where the next useful item is, but seasoned players can just ignore these. The first time I played ZM, I spent a lot of time doing exactly the opposite of what the waypoints told me to do, and as a result, I found all kinds of fun stuff. This kind of freedom was really exhilarating after Metroid Prime, where ignoring the waypoints often only led to impassable barriers, and especially Metroid Fusion, where the game didn't even let you try. This little side room teaches you a couple of things. First, it teaches you what bombable blocks look like. Second, it teaches you the exact distance a bomb can propel you upwards, 2 blocks. So an observant player leaves this room with a lot more than a single missile pack. The return trip introduces us to chain reaction blocks, where bombing one block will destroy a whole sequence of them. These types of blocks are put to an interesting variety of uses throughout the game. In any case, they're a lot nicer than having to slowly bomb one block at a time. And yes, getting the bombs means bomb jumping, an advanced technique that has infuriated Metroid players since before anyone knew Samus was a lady. I'm happy to report that bomb jumping in ZM does not necessitate the godlike timing it does in Super, nor is it a required yet carefully constrained ability like in Prime, nor is it nerfed into pointlessness like in Fusion. There are a lot of bomb jumping techniques in ZM, and most of them are pretty easy to learn. But here's a dirty little secret. If you only need to go up a couple of blocks, just hammering on the button is probably good enough. And just going up a couple of blocks is good enough to let you get away with some pretty fun stuff. So even beginning players get to feel like badasses. To do the really impressive skips though, you have to learn how to bomb jump infinitely, and it's never been easier. What you do is lay a bomb on the ground. Then just before that bomb explodes, lay the second one. The first will launch Samus into the air and she will start to fall. The trick is you only want to lay bombs when Samus is moving downwards. If the first 2 bombs are timed properly, every subsequent bomb is guaranteed to be positioned correctly as long as you place them during her fall. It takes a couple minutes to learn the rhythm of Samus's rising and falling, but there is a large amount of leeway within that rhythm. It's super easy, and I can't believe it took them 5 games to come around to this method. Try it out on your next replay. Wall jumping, on the other hand, has never been worse. It looks like I'm derpily spin climbing over the wall instead of jumping up and over it, and that's because the input for each wall jump has to be done so quickly that Samus doesn't have time to leave the surface. Single wall jumping in Super Metroid was tricky, but Samus's jumps were slow enough that you gained a lot of height, even if you didn't do them quickly. Single wall jumping in Fusion was impossible, but the game was designed in such a way that double wall jumping was useful in a lot of places. ZM has neither of these selling points, and so wall jumping feels bad and looks stupid. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, I guess. But let's go back to bomb jumping. If you roll slightly to one side before a bomb explodes, Samus will be propelled at an angle rather than directly upwards. She's blown far enough that if you try to steer her back towards where she left the ground, she'll get there just in time to catch the explosion of a second bomb. Combine this with the bomb jump timing we already know, and we get an infinite diagonal bomb jump, which, let's face it, looks pretty goddamn pro. Armed with both vertical and diagonal bomb jumping, we can reach the door to the Varia room without the high jump boots. But even sequence breaking doesn't spare us the boredom of watching these bugs gnaw away the disgusting jelly sacks, which I don't even know. I'm sure there's a perfectly logical and compelling reason why these things are in the game, but it has never been made known to me. Now it's time to really put your bomb jumping skills to the test. Step 1 is to get up to the top platform. Step 2 is to not do what I did there because that was stupid and then boiling acid. No, what you're supposed to do is time your movement so the explosion propels you across the gap. There we go. Step 3 is another vertical bomb jump, except this time it's done from a crumbling block. You want to morph in midair so that boiling acid, my god, why? You want to morph in midair so that Samus lands as a ball on the left side of the block, then immediately begin bomb jumping. This is where it really pays to have the timing of those first 2 bombs down pat. because if you hesitate or screw up, your reward is a slightly warm bath. Man, I don't even know what happened there. Like, leave it to me to screw up the easy part of a hard trick. Hard part's over, now it's just a short double bomb jump, a forced viewing of Revenge of the Jelly Sack, and a red door before you can claim your prize. Early Varia suit, baby. Now you don't have to cut your Norfair exploration in half. Another variant of this skip is to forego the Varia entirely and optimize the Norfair heat rooms so you can survive them just with the energy you have. Speedrunners, even 100% speedrunners, tend to use this method because the Varia doesn't count against your item collection rate. The game awards it to you along with the gravity suit, even if you never picked it up. I'm not a speedrunner though, and I don't have the heat rooms optimized, and anyway, I wanted to show off what an awesome bomb jumper I am, so there. Believe it or not, Brinstar is mostly cleaned out now, just a few odds and ends remaining, a few of which we won't be able to get until our return trip later in the game. What you're supposed to do once you have the missiles and bombs is go down into Norfair for a few critical items, find yourself boxed in by speed blocks, then return to Brinstar and find the entrance to Kraid. Beating Kraid nets you the speed booster and gets you deep enough into Norfair to find the high jump boots and some heated rooms. Then you return to Brinstar again for the Varia, and finally return to Norfair a third time and locate the entrance to Ridley. That's some pro wall jumping there, Brickroad. Would have been faster just to roll under the damn thing. Anyway, that's a ridiculous amount of backtracking. The game is practically begging for you to find ways to break it. You have to do Brinstar first, but by using the baked-in sequence breaks and some clever bomb and wall jumping, you can clear out the other three sections, Norfair, Kraid, and Ridley, in just about any order you want. The order actually matters too, because your equipment dramatically changes the way each of these levels play out. As a result, ZM has some interesting replay value outside of simply trying for a better time. One downside to ZM's structure is none of the power-ups are new. They're all familiar to anyone who has played the older games. Since there are no surprises, the developers weren't shy about revealing things like this super missile tank long before you're able to actually pick them up. Diligent exploration will also yield lots of power bomb and screw attack blocks. It's like everywhere you look is a bright sign saying, "Not yet." Lots of pickups like this ceiling energy tank are throwbacks to how items were hidden in the old games. Just as many, like the super missile we saw a minute ago, are hidden behind highly technical execution challenges. As with Super, though, my favorite hidden items are the ones you can see but not reach, and you have to use your knowledge of the game map to determine where the path must be by process of elimination. Case in point, this first missile tank I pick up in Kraid. As far as I know, it's the only item in a 2D Metroid game hidden inside of a save room. You know the item is there because you can reach the room it's in from a different direction, but the game conditions you into believing that save rooms are devoid of secrets and power-ups. That's just the way they've always been. Studying the game map, though, reveals that there's nowhere else this particular secret passage could be. Result, secret passages can be absolutely anywhere, and you better keep your Metroid sense sharp. That caches this episode of Let's Play Metroid Zero Mission. I'll see you next time for the Scouring of Kraid. Bye, guys.